Butte, Montana, known as the richest mining town in the world because of all the copper pulled from these hills over the last 100 years. In the 1950s, mining operations transitioned from digging tunnels to open pit mining. The Berkeley Pit is one of the most famous mining pits in the world. Over 1.5 miles wide, the pit began to fill up with water in the 1970s, when the pumps keeping back the water in the tunnels were turned off and the pit filled up. The Berkeley Pit is a toxic brew, full of metals and dangerous minerals. Over the last few years, the EPA, in cooperation with private companies, have begun to process the water and pull out the metals.
I am holding in my hands water from Butte, Montana. Remember the Berkeley Pit, how red it was? Well, Lisa, this used to be a clear bottle, right?
Yeah, it looked like that bottle.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What happened? How in the world did it get decolored?
Well, these two samples sent in by the EPA are the groundwater below the Parrot tailings. The Parrot tailings have quite a bit of copper and in the water. Obviously a lot of iron, because that's the color.
And so after your process, you literally can create metal from the water.
That's correct.
And this is solid copper?
This is solid copper. It's 5/9 pure. And the way that we can remove metal economically from the water is you take the nano coatings that we patented and you bond them onto substrates. Sitting here is titania with our ligands bonded on the substrate.
Whew, that language.
Then you pour the water with the metal over it, and then you recharge the filter bed and use it again.
Why is it all yellow?
Well, in this instance, it's all yellow because we were working with lead. And the Montana's got a tremendous amount of copper still. If you get enough metal, over 3% by weight metal on a substrate, you send it to a smelter, and you get that.
So you can mine the water.
You can mine the water. And the last thing we came up with that I thought was pretty neat, and it removed 99.9% of all the copper that was in the Berkeley Pit. 99.9%.
Well, that is
So this
exciting.
is the second largest natural resource on planet Earth. This is chitosan, chitin. So cellulose is #1,
So it
chitin's #2.
comes out of the ocean.
Comes out of the ocean. Grabbing shrimp shells. Yes.
And what do you do with that?
We put our...
Seasoning on your salad.
We do. No.
Are you serious?
We put our coatings.
Can you eat it?
You're not eating that. I wouldn't recommend it. It's got metals on it.
Oh, okay.
So this chitosan, this organic biopolymer substrate, absorbs high concentrations of metal in very nasty wastewater. And then when you sent that to the smelter, it would burn off to carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and nitrogen. And you get that.
Well, all I know is that that's an interesting language you just spoke. You take the water, you process it, and you can mine the metals right out of the water. And there it is right there.
That is reclaiming the metal as a commodity, not a hazardous waste.
And you end up with clean water after it's all done.
You pull the metals out of water, your water is clean.